Okay, so now we're in the top of the engine bay. It's time to remove the bolts that secure the turbocharger and to remove any sort of oil lines or sensor lines. I've marked in yellow what needs to be returned. A 17mm and a 14mm spanner. We've got another bolt over here that needs to be removed. I think it's again, I think it's 17mm. We've got 3 copper bolts here, 1, 2, 3, and there's another one hidden on this side in here you need to get to. So remember, they're copper, and your magnetic tool won't stick to them. So you got 1, 2, and then there's a third one in here, and then around in here you've got a bolt which releases this clamp here, and this clamp seals the turbocharger to the DPF. And as you'll see, there'll be a big hole in here. So let's remove these bolts and we'll get into this part. Okay, you guys, so we've released all the bolts now, and you know, it's too good to be true. We've only hurt ourselves twice, and we've got to the point where we can actually pull the turbocharger from the car. As you can see, it actually comes off pretty easily. There is a gasket under here. You'll see a triangle shaped gasket that comes out. You can see in here that it just pulls, it releases from the exhaust port here. So to pull the turbocharger, there's no real secret. Just be gentle, be polite. So there you have it. We've removed the turbocharger, and I'm not going to go into much detail with this video. I think I'm going to do an entire separate series on how to service the turbocharger and to replace the gaskets. You can already see here that there's a gasket that needs to be replaced. You can see in here that there's it's like the lead seal that goes for the exhaust section. But like I said, I'm not going to go into much detail with that. You can start doing a little bit of cleaning. This product here works really well, so you can spray it wherever there's an exhaust section of the car, of the turbocharger. You can spray it in there, and you can spray it in here, and literally it's just very good at releasing. So we can just see here now in the engine bay, there's a little bit of oil leakage, but it's nothing crazy. You have the oil return lines, and there is the massive port where the turbocharger goes to the exhaust section. So I know you guys might be wondering now, this is a good time to do a DPF flush. You might have seen on the internet, they do the DPF flush by spraying the product in where these hard lines bolt in, but you've got so much more access to get to the DPF by spraying it in here. I know the brand Liqui-Moly does a brand of DPF cleaner, so what a perfect time to clean out the DPF if you want to do the job at the same time. Maybe I should make another video on how to do that. But the next stage we're up to is to remove the exhaust manifold, so let's get started with that. So now we're up to removing the exhaust manifold section. Again, I've just marked some points in yellow what we need to start with. If you've seen my other video of removing the DPF sensor, which is behind this bracket here, we're basically stripping down this section again, so all this has to come out. You can see there's 3 bolts in here. The DPF sensor, a little bit of that has to come off. And then I've marked here the copper bolts again on the exhaust manifold, which need to come out, and then we're pretty much there. You can see there's a coupling at the back of the exhaust manifold here. That runs around the back of the engine to the EGR valve, so that's EGR, exhaust gas recirculation. You might have seen in my other video, there is some gaskets and things that you can replace for this. So we're not gonna pull the entire back of the pipe out, but that too needs to be released. So there is a few more bolts we need to get at. Start with the bracket, and then you can work your way along here, remove the exhaust manifold, and then we can start cleaning and tidying everything up. Okay guys, so this is another exhaust, another shield that needs to be removed. and you can see I've got the arrows pointed there because I can't get the camera into the back there. There's two more bolts, one at the top and one at the bottom. You'll need to get to them. I've just got the arrows to point the sort of the location, but to remove that heat shield, I think there's about 3 bolts. You're going to have to feel around and get your hands in the back there to remove it. The reason you've got to take that shield off is because we've got to get to these bolts here, and there's one more underneath to remove that section. And if you want to remove these brackets and things to make the job a little bit easier, you can do that. You can see that I've just removed this bracket and got it out of the way. You can just let that hang there, and just make room for yourself, guys. So there you have it, guys. I've removed the exhaust manifold. Once you undo the bolts, it will come off the car very easily, and that's pretty much it. We're at the point where just about everything is removed from the car. You can see here I've got one of the copper bolts from the exhaust manifold in here. What's happened with one of them is the entire stud has pulled out from the block. Now at this point, if this does happen to you, don't panic or anything like that. It's not the end of the world. When I go to fit the exhaust manifold back on the car again, I'm just going to be very gentle and just put it back in the same place where it came from. It's nothing to worry too much about at this point, at this stage. In the future, I probably will fix it and use some you'll have to use thread locker and a special high temperature thread locker to put this stud back in the engine block. I don't have that on me at this point, and I know that it's nothing critical, so I'm not going to worry. This might happen to you, so don't worry too much. The next thing to do is we're going to just clean up this entire section here, and then we're going to paint it with some black paint, and it'll be ready to put back on again, and then we can go for reassembly. So you can see here, guys, in the engine bay I've removed the exhaust manifold, and I've removed it from the back of the EGR connecting pipe. You can see there's another gasket there that has to be replaced. You might have seen all the gaskets in the other video that I was talking about. So now's the time to start cleaning everything up. Get your part spray, and you can start cleaning around in here. Make sure you don't get any spray in the oil lines. You can block that off if you like. If you've got your Liqui-Moly engine DeCarb, you can spray some in here. If you've got some fine brushes, remember that this goes straight into the cylinder head and the combustion chamber, so you can clean in here, and you can, with the right product, you can safely spray in here. The product I'm using is the Liqui-Moly engine DeCarb, and I'll spray in here and clean it with a brush very carefully. When you go to start the engine again, the engine doesn't like it, but it is safe to use. If you read on the back of the can, it recommends only spraying. If you read on the back of the can, it recommends only spraying the product in the engine when it's when the engine is turning over at about 2000 RPM. But I found that I can get away with it. It does have a bit of a rough start, but it's an excellent product to clean up all in here, to clean out all the soot, and to make things a lot cleaner. So all you can see here, I'm not using any special tools or anything. This is just a cordless drill and some different brass wheels. There's some parts cleaner, and all I'm doing is taking the rust off the exhaust manifold. You can see that it comes up pretty clean. All you want to do is basically give something the paint can sort of stick to. So I'm not going to spend all day on this. After I've done this, I'll put the car back together, but as you can see, it does come up pretty clean. It does look pretty good. And then you can just use your high heat paint. Just follow the instructions on the back of the can. I think this can says it cures touch dry within an hour, so it's actually pretty good to use. And there you have it. So you just use your parts cleaner and your wire brushes, and you can get it coming up pretty clean. If you don't, if you don't paint this, it's just going to rust again because it's cast iron. So just remember that. I mean, it does look pretty good polished. You could do a clear coat or something like that, but yeah, just remember it will rust again if you don't paint it. So there we have it. We just sort of painted the exhaust manifold. You know, it's looking pretty good. It's looking better than it was before. I just did 3 coats of paint, three light coats of paint, and it basically said it's touch dry within 30 minutes. So I just have it out here in the sun, and I just let it dry a little bit, and then it's time to put it back in the car. Just remembering from this point forward, we're going to start putting on new gaskets and new bolts and things like that. If you choose to renew those parts, it is worthwhile doing. And to be honest, if you don't want to spend much money, I think the best gasket to renew is the exhaust manifold gasket in here. And that's probably the main part. The exhaust manifold gasket and the gasket that goes to the turbocharger, those 2 gaskets. I mean, there are other parts that you can renew, the gasket that seals here to the EGR valve and things, but probably those 2 are the main ones that you want to think about.